Alright, so let's take a look at Slay the Spire, currently in early access. It is effectively a rogue-lite using deck building mechanics. And for those of you who don't know what a deck builder is, as opposed to a sort of standard card game, it involves your character, or yourself, starting with more or less a very basic set of cards that you will then attempt to expand in whatever way the game allows, in such a way as to give yourself more and more efficient and potent and advantageous cards than what you started with, and also to limit and even remove sometimes less efficient and even just flat out negative cards from your deck so that you have less of a chance of drawing them and, just progressing much better that way. So deck builders have become more and more popular recently. I think Ascension actually probably kicked that off in a big way. And we're seeing a lot more of those in various forms. And I think this is the first time, though, I've ever actually seen that set of mechanics actually applied to a roguelite in any way. And that kind of excites me because I like cards. I love games that use card-based mechanics. And I love the roguelite sort of subgenre, meta-genre, whatever you want to call it at this point, because there are so many different games in it and different ways to do it now. And this one really does things a lot differently. There are a lot of differences to it, and I would kind of consider this game, first of all, amazing. I really, really like it a lot. So, spoilers there for how I feel. And I would also consider this game to be sort of like Enter the Gungeon in a way. Obviously not mechanically, but in my opinion, Enter the Gungeon was like a sort of paradigm shift in the way that this genre could be done. It took the sort of Isaac-like way of doing this genre, which was the main way it started, and really one of the most common ways of doing it, and kind of took it on its head, and learned a lot from other games, and learned a lot from the way that people have complained about various parts of what made it maybe not for them, and things like that, and really changed it up, and made it, in my opinion, at least, Enter the Gungeon is pretty much the pinnacle of that Isaac-like style of this genre. So I think that that's sort of what Slay the Spire is doing. It's taking a lot of tips from other parts of this scape in the gaming sphere and applying them to this game. And you're kind of going to see what I mean here. So let's stop talking on the title screen and actually go into it. There are two characters currently in the early access build. You will start with this one, the Ironclad, who has several different builds available to him and is actually really potent and really fun to play. However, there's also this lady here, the Silent, and she's pretty cool. I've only played her once, and I think that means it would be really fun to actually play her again for this video. I don't know how that's going to go, since I'm not very good with her yet, because I've only played her once, but we're going to try that. Everyone starts with 99 gold, at least everyone that's currently available, and a relic. And relics are, the kind of roguelite, randomly awarded items that they give you stats and synergies and things like that. That's what the role that these fill. And everyone starts with their own. And the Silent starts with the Ring of the Snake, which allows her to be extra prepared at the beginning of a combat by drawing 2 additional cards. So that would be 7, I believe, instead of 5. Let's go. She does have less health and is generally easier to kill. Also, Whale. Yeah. So this is one of the things I was talking about earlier when I said it kind of changes up some of the way that the genre works. One of the main complaints from people about the genre is the start of every run is the same. And you always start the same way, and you always are doing the same things until you sort of get going. This is kind of, in my opinion at least, it seems this is one of the ways they're addressing that. After you reach the boss, the first boss, for the first time, this whale will show up at the beginning of every run and allow you a choice of a different way to start every run after that for that character. And these choices tend to be different every time, except for this one, which allows you to trade in your starting relic for a random other relic of a boss reward pool. I'm actually going to... You know what? I've never chosen this one. I'm going to try that. Let's do it. What'd I get? The hell? 3 curses and 3 relics. Okay. So when I said there could be cards, sometimes they're just plain bad. This is what I was talking about. So that's a problem. I get 3 of them. Clumsy. which is just something that can take up a slot in my hand that I can't do anything with, but it is exhausted at the end of my turn, which means it disappears and doesn't sort of cycle back into my deck repeatedly. Doubt, I gain weakness, and parasite, I've been called that before, yes. If transformed or removed from your deck, lose 3 max HP. Wow! So I either have to keep that in my deck as an unplayable card that wastes space, or remove it, but I lose 3 max health if I do so. Ouch. But I do get 3 relics, so I get the Oddly Smooth Stone. Ooh, 1 dexterity. That's actually really useful for her because she needs block. Ginger, which is delicious. I can no longer become weakened. Oh, wait a minute. Does that mean that other curse doesn't do anything? And a sundial. Every 3 times you shuffle your deck, gain 2 energy. Which is, of course, what we use to play cards, by the way. I do like that every character has different energy icons. Hers are these green triangles, and the other characters, the Ironclads, are these orange, like, spheres. Okay. Now that we've made our probably poor choice, we will begin. And this is what a level looks like. It is a sort of map-like layout. There's the end boss looking all angry, and you will begin by choosing a path. And as you can see, you just go on a path. Each of these icons representing different types of encounters that you can encounter, and you just gotta kind of go and see what you can do. So, I'm gonna start here. Now, this character does start with a bit of a disadvantage compared to the Ironclad in that her deck is smaller. About half the size, roughly, maybe 2/3 the size of the Ironclad's deck, starting deck, but you get more cards very quickly. So, the basic combat works in a pretty understandable way. You just spend energy to play cards and not die, hopefully. You also can see the enemy's intent, which is what they're going to do to you next turn, so he's going to hit me for 12 damage, which is quite a bit, and I can't really do anything about that, unfortunately. I can't block or anything. This may have been a block card, but of course, instead I got this instead. Deck builders. So I can neutralize for free, which will weaken their attack a little bit, so I take a bit less damage. And I'm just going to start smacking them down. And end my turn. That card's now exhausted. For this combat, at least. It will be back next combat. Okay, now I can actually defend. And block works basically how you would think. I do have dexterity, so it gives me 6 instead of 5, which is nice. That stone does that. And block just blocks that much damage. But at the end of your turn, that block goes away. Well, at the beginning of your next turn, rather. So I'm currently just trying to not take too much damage and then survive the attacks. Okay, now he's going to actually hit me with a negative effect as well as a debuff. The intent is not that specific, purposefully so. You have to kind of learn what each character can do. This only shows you that it's going to debuff you. It doesn't show you what the specific debuff actually will be. In this case, I'm going to block almost all the damage. Actually, I really shouldn't. Yeah, it was dumb. I didn't see that I had Survivor in hand. We'll just go ahead and block all the damage. But that does not block the debuff, strangely enough. But I'm immune, because the debuff of Rake is weakness, and I'm immune to being caused weakness. Now, this character starts off fairly slow, because a lot of her other cards, like I said, she does not really start with. However, when she ramps up, she gets quite powerful. And I've noticed one of her kind of prime builds involves poison, which is really quite nice. Just going to discard this, and that's all I can really do. And one of the best methods I found, because like I said, I've only actually played her once, but one of the best methods I found was to basically just hide behind repeated block shields as often as I could, and then poison everyone and let them just like die horribly while they tried to kill me and failed. And it worked pretty well, but it was a bit slow at first. But eventually you do get cards that allow you to inflict just horrible amounts of poison damage to everyone at once, which is pretty funny. So at the end of every combat, you'll get some spoils, generally gold, sometimes potions. You can hold up to 3 potions at once. This is an elixir, which is really useful because it will get rid of curses from your hand, which I now have too many of. And you'll get a choice of cards every time to expand your deck, and this is where the deck builder aspect comes in. You'll always get a choice of 3, although there is a relic that allows you to choose from, I think, 4 or 5. And you can choose one. So in this case, this is where one of the early access problems lies in. This screen flickers pretty badly for me. Other than that, though, it's fine. Let's see. Outmaneuver is nice, because next turn you get a bunch of extra energy, but for me right now that's not that useful because I don't have enough stuff to spend that energy on. So I think a free 5 damage would be good for now. And we shall proceed. And the game shall go on like this until you start to get some really, really fancy stuff. And one thing I really like about this, oh god, the cultists, is that eventually you'll find some really neat kind of niches to fit your builds into. Every character isn't really like a one-trick pony. I mentioned that this character likes poison, but that's not the only thing she can do. Depending on what sort of cards you go for, and there's quite a large variety in cards, you can do a lot of different things. For instance, the other character, which I'm more familiar with, the Ironclad, has various builds that involve things like upping his strength as much as possible to do as much damage as possible in a very short time frame. In fact, he even has an attack that is strength, of course, boosts the attack damage, so yeah. He even has an attack that is affected multiple times by strength. It's called Heavy Blade, and it's actually affected like 3 or even 5 times by strength. So it does like obscene amounts of damage really, really easily. And has other abilities like Demon Form, which makes him gain strength every turn. So if you're able to actually live through multiple turns, you get so much stacking strength that you just can like one-shot almost everything. And has other abilities involving block, for instance. The need to just kind of sit back and block as much as possible, like I'm trying to do right now. Actually, no, I don't want to discard that because I want it to exhaust itself. And it even has abilities that can do damage and block at the same time, or even things like Body Slam, which does damage based on how much block he currently has built up. Or a Flame Shield, which blocks and does damage to whatever hits you. So there are also builds for him hurting himself, funnily enough. There is a skill, there are skills, by the way, which are things that you play rather than attacks that actually stay on your character for a longer period of time. I don't have enough to actually power him down this turn, so I'm just going to block again. And that actually hurts him at the end of his turn to, like, it's called combustion, isn't it? That, yeah, it hurts him at the end of his turn and then, like, just sets everything else on fire, effectively. And there are even cards that synergize with that actually cause various effects to happen every time he gets hurt by one of his own cards. So you can make lots of builds based around various things. And I still don't have enough. That is a problem. Okay. I'm still trying to learn all the things that this character can do, since this is only my second try with her. Okay, we've got to, like, get this done now. There we go. Strength is building up to ridiculous levels. And what do we got? Calculated Gamble. Discard your hand, then draw that many cards. Exhaust. So it's a one-use free mulligan. Acrobatics. That seems really nice, actually. 1 cost, 3 card draw. You have to get rid of 1, so yeah. That's very good. Also, there are these unknown spots you can land on that are pretty interesting, so I'll have to show you that. They're basically like text adventure-y spots. Oh, well, they usually are. Sometimes they're battles, sometimes they're treasure, sometimes they're like actual text adventure-y spots where you can make choices and get hurt very badly or get treasure and things. So what I get? Prayer Wheel. Non-boss chests now also contain cards. Oh! Unfortunately, it's not retroactive. Let's see what this one is. It is a shop. I don't have that much money, but Let's see. There are also colorless cards that you can find. I love how the shop interface is great, by the way. You've got his creepy, bony hand, and everything's on this rug. And the rug has a not for sale tag on it. That's pretty great. Yeah, so there are colorless cards, and these can be obtained by anyone. So obviously her class has these green cards, and the other guy has the like, reddish-orange cards, but there are also colorless ones that anyone can get. There's a Panacea. I never actually known how to pronounce that. Final Fantasy did not teach me. Which gives you an artifact. Wow. Interesting. And there's Panache. Every time you play 5 cards in a single turn, deal 10 damage to all enemies. That's a big deal. I can't afford it. You can also get some... You know what, dude? You can also get some artifacts here, some relics, some orichalcum. That would be really useful. 6 free block. And some potions. Ornamental fan. Also free block. Free block is really good for this character, as you can tell, because she usually has to make a choice between either blocking a lot or doing damage. So being able to get some block when you're also doing damage is not normally something that she can do, unlike the other character. Glass knife. 8 damage twice. Glass knife damage is lowered by 2 this combat. That would be a hugely useful thing, but I can't quite afford it. Lose 6 strength for 1 turn. That's really useful. That if you're about to get hit by a lot of damage, you can use that and basically make them like hit like a cat. Caltrops. Deal 3 damage to the attacker. I think I'm gonna get this and outmaneuver for later just because it was on sale. Also, there's this. I should point out the card removal service. This is what I was talking about in terms of getting rid of cards that are no longer useful for you. I actually probably should have done that. That was really stupid of me. I totally forgot. Cards that either you are just taking up space and you're drawing when you could be drawing better stuff, or cards that are outright bad, like those curses that I have and really need to not have anymore. You can spend gold to get rid of them. Sometimes the text adventure spots also will have an option to get rid of a card if you're lucky. And this will allow you to permanently remove them from your deck. However, the shop option gets more expensive every time you use it, so you can't spam it. Also, there are these louse enemies that are kind of adorable and pose almost no threat whatsoever. So let's go ahead and get this artifact. What do I get? What do I get? What do I get? Oh, that kind of artifact. I'm dumb. I forgot that's what that meant. Whoops. I thought it meant one of these. These are called relics, not artifacts. Artifact is a buff. I'm stupid. Okay, well, that's fine. I forgot. Okay. These have the annoying tendency of blocking after you hit them. I cannot believe I did that. I forgot the artifact is the buff and relic is the item. Little confusing, not a big deal. Okay. Artifact is really useful though, it negates a debuff. Yeah, I mean, I might as well use outmaneuver. I can kill this one and defend against that one. So, the game also, I think, one of the other things that I was mentioning it does differently from a lot of roguelites that I think is valuable to people, especially people that may not be a huge fan of the genre in general. Kind of like how the whale helps you start your runs a little bit differently every time. That's a weird sentence. Oh, yeah. That's a hard choice. Is that, actually before I go on to that, let me mention something else. There are these campfires, they're rest sites, and you can make the, you know what, let's go here. You can make the choice when you go to these to either rest and restore 30% of your max HP, or upgrade a card. And this is a unique mechanic that you definitely should be aware of when you're playing. Every single card, even colorless ones, can be upgraded. And this allows you to, it just makes it better in some way, and the way is not always obvious, but it will make it stronger or more effective in some way or last longer or something like that. It will upgrade it in some capacity, and it's really a good thing to do. Most cards can be upgraded once, but there are some cards that can be upgraded multiple times, and they'll generally tell you in the description. The other character has a card that can actually be upgraded indefinitely and gets like really, really strong. The whole point of that card is to just upgrade it repeatedly until it can one-shot almost everything. It's basically like a fire blast. It's very, very powerful. And in this case, I think I would like to heal. And sometimes you can also get relics that allow you to do other things, or do other things while resting. For instance, there are relics that upgrade how much health you get while resting, and you can even get a shovel that allows you to dig for loot at these rest sites instead of the other things. But yeah, as I was mentioning before, sorry, one of the other... oh god, not the slimes. One of the other things this game does differently is I was really surprised the first time I actually played this. My first run, I actually made it all the way to the second floor boss, and almost won. And I really only lost because I had some bad cards in my hand that were really causing me some issues. And, you know, the things that I shouldn't have had, and really I got greedy and should have spent money to get them out of my hand instead of buying better cards. And if I would have done that, then I probably could have won, because I was actually really close to winning even with the bad cards. Don't lick me. I'm immune to being licked. Yay! And what? And that's different, because I think about a lot of games in this genre. Think about like Isaac or other games of that sort. You don't usually get very far. I guess that extra energy was not useful at all. You don't usually get very far your first run through. Seeing a boss your very first time is rare, very rare. Usually does not happen. But in this case, I was actually able to make it pretty far my very first time, and I think that comes down to the idea of this game's unlocks being like genuinely not at all stingy. I was really surprised by all of the really potent and interesting cards that I was finding my first time around. Split it up. On the first character, there's all sorts of cards. I was just finding more and more really interesting cards. And although there are cards to unlock, there's relics to unlock. There's stuff to unlock in this game, just like your traditional roguelite has. As you play, you unlock more stuff to find in future runs. But what you start with the ability to find is quite varied and very strong, and I think that's one of the things that makes this game different. In any event, this is an extremely satisfying game. It is a very, very good addition to the sort of roguelite genre. Yes, Noxious Fumes, very useful, although dash. Oh man, that's a hard... oh man, Noxious Fumes is so good though. I gotta go for it. And, yeah, it's such a good addition to the genre, and honestly, we haven't seen a deck building roguelite that I am aware of. There's Card Quest, but that's more of just a card-based entry into this type of thing. It's not really deck building, per se. Yay! Upgrading skills. Blade Dance, 2 shivs. Shivs are useful, 0 cost attack cards. Dagger Spray, 4 damage to all enemies twice. Yep. So as you can see, I'm starting to really build out my deck now, and we're getting towards an actual build, not quite there yet, getting towards like a sort of rapid attack plus poison build, and hiding behind walls of block. We're getting there. Okay. I could heal back up again, which is probably smart. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm always wary of how little health this character has. It also does the classic roguelite thing of every floor having multiple bosses you could potentially encounter, which I'm very much a fan of, because that's just more variety. What are those little slime poots? And so yeah, I think this is a game that anyone that likes any of the mechanics in place should really check out. If you like cards, if you like deck building, if you like roguelites, there's something here for you, and it's really, really good. So I definitely have to recommend it, and I'm definitely going to be playing it more and covering it more when more updates are added to the point where there's, more physically for me to actually show. Man, that's good. And I've got to say that the price is definitely right on this one as well. Its current early access price is $16, which is a bit of an unusual price, but that's what it is, 16 bucks. And I think, as you can see, there's quite a lot here, because this is only one character, so you're only seeing half the cards right now, and there are still a lot. So I can't really say that that I am upset with anything in this game at all so far. It is extremely enjoyable. Although that flickering issue on the card select screen is kind of annoying sometimes, whenever it happens. I think another dagger spray would be good. So yeah, that is Slay the Spire. It is absolutely worth your time. It is an excellent game. And, oh boy. I think I would like to remove a card from my deck. That's 25 gold less than it normally costs. I'm gonna get rid of Doubt. Even though the weakness doesn't affect me, it's still yet another card that can take up space in a draw that could have gone to something more effective. I'd like to at least show you a bit of the boss now that I'm just about there. So let me hurry up and get there. And boss battle. Which one are we fighting? Okay, this one's really hard. The Hexaghost hits really, really hard every certain number of turns, including its first big turn. So now at least you've seen what a boss looks like in this game. And kind of understand what you're going to be up against. And its first attack will be for... Wait for it. Oh my god. 30 damage. Yeah, that's a lot. Although I could make it a bit less. There we go. 18. So yeah, that is Slay the Spire. Definitely try it out. As usual, the link is in the description below this video if you would like to give it a shot. This is going to hurt so bad. And I couldn't recommend it enough because I've had tons of fun with it. It is very satisfying to just head into and get slammed by a ghostly hexagon and wish you hadn't. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.